Okay, last video. This one should be relatively short. What are these respective forms good for? When do I want it in polar form? When do I want it in rectangular form? Well, rectangular form is great when you need to add the vectors, right? If I'm told, all right, I've got a vector that's, 40 degrees and a magnitude of 5, and I've got a vector, and I've got another vector that's got a magnitude of 6, but it's going at an angle of 72 degrees. This is a nightmare to try to add if I'm not going to convert it to rectangular form first. But if I've got something like this, how do I add these together? Well, this is easy peasy, right? 3 plus 7, negative 2 plus 4, and I'm done. So if I'm trying to add the vectors, put it in rectangular form first. In homework questions, in other application problems, I'm going to ask you to add vectors, but I might give it to you in polar form. You should convert it to rectangular and add them. Polar form, on the other hand, is super useful in determining the angle between two vectors. We were doing those problems back in chapter 12. We were using the dot product, and in this formula, you guys remember this, right? And we had to use this to find the angle between two vectors, so we had to do all these calculations to find the dot products and magnitudes. If I've got two vectors in polar form, so this is 12, 62 degrees, so that's something like this, because this is the 62, and then I've got 18, 114, so here's 18, and this is the 114. If I want to know the angle between these two vectors, well, I can see that this angle, which is the angle between the two vectors, is just the 114 minus the 62. I mean, there's almost no math involved. This is just then 52 degrees. So if I'm trying to find the angle between two vectors, I can use this method, but if I'm already in polar form, it's super easy. The other thing I'll mention, just in closing, is a lot of the time in the applications where we're using vectors, we're using them for navigation. When we get to some of the problems next week, we're going to be talking about airplanes and river currents and things like that, wind currents. And lots of the time we want our answers in polar form. So, a lot of the time you're going to end up, you might be working in rectangular form, but you want to convert back at the end of the problem. All right, that's it. Have a good one.